welcome again to Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. And in today's economic climate, it's very easy to forget about the importance of the arts. If we think about budget cuts, one of the first things to go is the arts. So tonight we have as our special guests the founders and managers of the Maywood Fine Arts Center to talk about what the arts are and why they're so important. Lois and Ernie Baumann, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure
Thanks
to have you.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
So let's start with a little bit of history. Tell me about the Maywood Fine Arts. I, of course, have been there and have seen the work that you do, but
Yes.
tell our audience about the Maywood Fine Arts Center and your program.
Oh, I would be glad to. Actually, I had the idea as a youngster. I was 12 years old and born and raised in Maywood, and I was taking dancing lessons at the Maywood Recreation Department, and I was inspired. And I said, when I grow up, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it bigger and better.
Not just dance, but teach dance.
Dance,
So even
yes.
at the age of 12, you saw yourself as a
I
teacher.
saw myself as doing this. And growing up in Maywood, then proceeding on from 12 years old, Maywood started to become a different town.
So when you were 12, did you envision Ernie as well, or was that later?
I
then?
probably did.
Yeah. Did you conjure
Well.
him at that point?
I probably did. I think back, I just knew that I felt I could do this and bring something even a little more special to the dance world. And at that time, I was only thinking of dance.
But now the center teaches much more than that, right?
Oh, yes, we do. We teach tumbling and karate. We have circus arts.
Karate.
Karate, yes, because part of our mission at Maywood Fine Arts is arts and health and fitness education,
Okay.
which is just so needed in our town.
Well, in America as a whole, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's chasing health initiatives and fitness initiatives, but in Maywood, oftentimes there's not enough available in terms of, well, particularly arts education. And we put that tumbling and karate and circus arts right in there with the arts education. We don't care. We're brave. We just throw it in.
We can
And
call
we're
it
not
arts,
done.
right?
I mean, we would do anything that comes along. We're open and we're ready to do anything.
Well, I think isn't that part of the soul of artistry, that there aren't boundaries? These are artificial constraints, and why abide by them? It's the
Yes,
arts.
absolutely.
That's a good point.
Bring them on down, and if you have space, share it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Ernie, when did you become involved? You're one of the founders, right?
Well, I was. I don't know if I was part of her dream. I know I was her mother's.
You were always part of
nightmare.
my dream.
But oh well, that could have been. I'm just saying. I may have been your mother's nightmare.
Yes.
But I don't know. I kind of matriculated here to Maywood, and I was working at the children's home, and I was always interested in sports, and I did all kinds of sports and things like that. And somewhere along the line, I met Lois. I had drifted off and opened a bookstore in Maywood, and right across the street was a little cafe where she was the waitress, and she happened to be home from college, first semester, and she asked me if I wanted cream in my coffee, and
And it went.
it pretty much
And
went,
there it
went
went.
right from there. I
That
think
was it.
we were married probably 4 months later, 5 months later. So it was just one of those unusual things. And so as I tagged along with her dancing, dancing schools traditionally always offered once every 6 weeks they would go into acrobatics and do things like that. And I had a certain amount of skill at that. So I would see these classes, and I thought, well, we could really do a little more. So I started doing some teaching on those days, and ultimately over the course of a couple of years, they had to move me out of there because all my tumblers they were too raucous for the dance environment.
Too many tumblers.
So
Yeah.
so we just kind of worked like that. It just that just happened and evolved, and we could certainly see the need, and we felt like this is exactly what we needed to do.
Well, let's talk for a minute about the need, because Maywood, for those who aren't familiar, Maywood is a community that's gone through a lot of changes and ups and downs over the years, and there's a fair amount, fairly large area in Maywood that really is pretty severely underprivileged at the moment, right?
I would agree. I would agree with that. I think that, well, and it's, I want to stand in the middle of the street and say to every adult working there that there's children here, and these children should be our first consideration. And Maywood, and we not only serve Maywood, we serve Bellwood and Forest Park. We really have a wide range. We have people that come to Maywood as far as from Bolingbrook and
so all over the area.
Yes, because again, we have a 45-year history, and people who come to bring their children to us are people who have been through our school in the past, who've grown up. We weren't always Maywood Fine Arts. Ernie and I began with the Maywood Recreation Department. We worked within that department, and that was actually our first 12 years. And we worked in, we were very interested as young people. I don't know where all that time went, but we were very interested when we first met as to what we could do in a town that obviously 45 years ago was having great changes that weren't going well. And again, our hue and cry was that there's children here. So we began the dancing within Maywood Recreation and the tumbling within Maywood Recreation. And then our summers we spent at the 5th and Lexington Park. And we had probably 100 kids a day, every day during the summer. Those kind of programs don't exist anymore, but I'm still...
Through the Park District?
Through the Park District, yes. So we were actually with Maywood Recreation for about 12 years, and then we spotted this beautiful building on Fifth Avenue we knew had just been purchased by Walther Lutheran High School, and up on the 3rd floor you could tell it was a kind of a magical ballroom. And that it was. The building was built in 1892. And
is that the bank building on the corner now?
No, the bank building came later. This was 1967, I believe. Maybe
No, it was a little later, a little bit later than that.
No, 67 we married in
right.
that.
Yeah, so
sorry,
maybe 10
I got our
years
marriage
later.
mixed up with when we opened the studio.
Somewhere in the 70s,
What's
80s.
more important, the marriage or the opening of the studio?
I'm not going to ask that
Let me
question.
tell
You guys will have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So one of our kids was born when 85. One of our kids was born when we cut the ribbon at what we called Stairway of the Stars. At this point, we were still not a nonprofit. We were just Ernie and Lois Baumann trying to do the right thing in the Maywood community. So we rented this 3rd floor ballroom from Walther Lutheran High School and turned it room by room into a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful studio. And then we expanded to the 2nd floor. So Walther Lutheran had the 1st floor and Stairway of the Stars, and that was what we called the dance school and everything it encompassed then. Stairway of the Stars had the 2nd and the 3rd floor of that building. Then and we just packed the children in. We packed them in to such a point that Mr. Ernie then rented another space for himself just to the south of
to get the room for the tumblers.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
So he had a separate, on the street, a couple of storefronts.
So how did you get the word out? How did this become so popular, especially in a depressed area like Maywood was becoming? How did it become the thing to do to send your kids there?
Well, there was not a lot of options, and we're pretty visible people. We make ourselves visible. Yeah. And I think, Ernie's always been referred to as the Pied Piper of Maywood. He would walk down the street, and there'd be
kids
kids and would follow. Right. And we met parents. People knew us, and they trusted us, and they trusted us with their children, and the school just grew and grew. it actually got to a point. Now, we were very busy. We have 6 children.
Of your own.
Yes.
Of our own, yeah.
Yes. And although even on the phone today, I referred to someone as my babies, and I said, "Oh, not my own babies." And I always
My surrogate babies, the ones I
Right.
train, right?
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. But
Although some of your children have gone through your own program, and some of them work there now, right?
oh yes, absolutely. My oldest daughter, Heidi, is the head dance teacher. Yeah, and then I have another daughter who dances in New York. Has been a dancer in New York. We have.
In fact, that's the first time I heard you use the phrase "my baby" at a benefit when she came out on stage, and I heard you from the balcony. That's my
baby.
And there she was.
I mean, honestly, I was just being a regular mom then, because
Yes, you were.
so often I could hear my own audience go, "There's my baby," and I did it myself. I was like, I heard myself do that. I remember that. But what happened in the course of Stairway of the Stars was that we were actually, we came to a breaking point. We were not a true nonprofit. We didn't have a 501c3, and we were just busy trying to do the right thing. And we had so many students enrolled, and so many students were on total scholarship that we were at the breaking point. It was at that point that friends and Maywood neighbors came together. And
Breaking point meaning you realized you weren't going to be able to keep this
financially,
going,
we couldn't keep
Yeah,
going.
okay.
We just
Not
couldn't
like
keep
that,
going.
and not like that, and continue to. First of all, we were never ever going to turn anybody away. So if somebody came to us, they came to us, and if they had no money, that was just the way it went. And we don't.
There were no
we
papers
never,
to
we've
fill
never,
out.
You know,
Yeah,
we've
right.
never.
You didn't have to apply for a scholarship.
No, you
just
didn't have to apply. You
I
just
want to
came
do
in
this,
the
and I
door
can't
and-
afford
Right,
it.
it was
And
strictly right there as you are. And I would have to say we have never regretted any money that ever got lost or spent, and I think that's maybe one of the things that's kept us going is that we really don't care about it, and for some reason, things continue to.
money has never
work
been
in
the
our-
object and isn't now.
It's
right?
never been
No.
no. We just really ignore that factor, and
If you
I
don't
know,
have
we've
it, you
managed
just
to-
got to put
we're
your
still
nose to
upright.
the grindstone and keep on, even to this day, keep on trucking.
So, what was the advantage of becoming a nonprofit? Where did that come from?
The advantage was that you could, going from working 12 hours a day, you could now work, 18 hours a day.
There you go.
That's
Sounds
really
like a
what
trade-off.
happened. Well, this was in 1996, and because as a nonprofit, you could go out for funding. You could begin doing the ask, which is something we never ever dreamed of doing. Never thought about it.
We never did it.
We never did it.
No,
but
we never. When
Even
when
after
we,
you became a
when
501c3?
when we were Stairway of the Stars and Mr. Ernie's Flip Flop and Fly, we never asked anybody for anything. And finally, people were looking in there and said, "You guys need a little bit of help." And so this is kind of how the not-for-profit thing came up, and the idea that we could have an organization that could possibly go and say, look, these people need help and what have you.
So really,
So-
the people who were familiar with your
That's
operation
correct, yes.
came and said, guys,
Yes.
Right.
you're killing yourselves here. There's another way to do this. Let's
People
help
that
you
were
out with it."
maybe,
Yeah.
they were probably a little smarter with money than we were.
yeah, we were never
Yeah.
very,
We were
you
not
know.
we were not the bright ones. That way.
No, and we never even knew what a grant was. Like I said, we had our head in the sand that way. We were just so busy staying alive. And virtually our world was Maywood. Our whole world was Maywood. And
And the children who are here, right?
yeah,
Well,
and the interesting
precisely.
thing was that when we formed Maywood Fine Arts, this was a great opportunity for us to continue with some of our other dreams that we'd never. Many times a parent would stand before me and say, I want this one to take dancing lessons, and I would really like this one to take a piano lesson. Do you know where I can go?
This child can't move, and this child needs something else, or this one
And we
needs
never
art,
had
or they need
we never
Right.
had it
something.
to offer, and so this was a great way for us to pursue our dreams of embracing more of the art world. and even at Stairway, we had already started teaching drama classes, so we already had that. And we were just a brand new Maywood Fine Arts Board when the bank building that houses Maywood Fine Arts went on the market. And it had been a photographer's studio for many years, 30 years. And Mr. Beach came across the street and he said, if you don't buy this building in 10 days, I'm selling it, and it's going to be a warehouse, and it's going to be boarded up.
Well, it was boarded up anyway.
It was boarded up on, this beautiful bank building.
I've been there. The building is really
it was boarded up
special,
everywhere
right?
because the photographer wanted it dark.
Oh, sure. Right.
Yeah. And so Ernie and we put a lien against our house, borrowed $25,000 from a friend, who's still a friend, I might have to add, and Maywood Fine Arts purchased this bank building, which houses our music school. And I think the first year in 1996 when we opened that music school, we had 40 students.
The first year, that sounds pretty good.
Yes. And so in the music schools where we teach piano, percussion, voice, and we have children's choir, which is offered free, and we hold our drama classes in the music school. We have a baby gym, a tumbling gym where we do our aerial arts. We have an art school.
And so that's where.
Well, how has our music school grown?
Well, we had.
I'm the interviewer here now.
Right. So tell me, Lois.
Could you tell me that?
Darling.
How has the school
darling.
grown over the years?
We have 160 children in the music school this year.
So it's quadrupled.
And we actually have 2 children's choirs. And we're really very, very proud of.
And you still practice anybody who shows up here will be accepted.
Yes,
right?
we work very hard at that. The music school perhaps is our biggest financial burden because we teach individual classes. And that's something that I feel in the children in our community.
That's 160 individual lessons.
Yes,
that's correct.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's quite a few.
Maywood Fine Arts
We're trying to expand it.
This past year, we enrolled 543 families, and we have 700 children a week coming in and out of our doors. Except, as you know, but maybe your public doesn't know, that in 2010, our dancing school just it burned to the ground.
The former Stairway to the Stars.
The former Stairway to the Stars, which had housed my complete history. Yeah, so I'm beginning to rewrite my history.
That's right, it gives you a clean slate, right? You can start over.
Everything was in there, all of our music, costumes.
Sets.
Well, we could find something every day. Yeah.
All old pictures. Our pictures when we were young.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, that was actually that was a huge blow. We were just about to purchase that building. We had worked on the purchase of that building so that we could have the Maywood Fine Arts building and the dance school.
Right.
And our idea is correct, is that you can give this child a dancing lesson while this one is taking a tumbling lesson. You can walk across the street, and Maywood can be a center for the arts at 5th Avenue and Lake Street.
And
the other purpose there was that we would also then take over the first floor, and that was going to be a black box theater and an all-purpose area to do all kinds of rehearsals and that, but it was going to be a place for us to do productions, and we still want that, and we're kind of, that's kind of a setback for us because that was a future plan for us, and we were, rolling along, and the purchase of that building would have made that happen, but we're having to withdraw and just trying to get our own dance space.
I bet you could get it really cheap right now, don't you think?
Well, yeah, you're right.
Actually, we proceeded. We do own the space now, and through some young people from Loyola. We've planted a community garden in the empty space where Stairway of the Stars was.
Because the building has been demolished.
The
at this
building
point.
Yes,
is down,
right.
yes. And we actually, after that fire, we moved immediately, thanks to the First Congregational Church of Maywood. They took us in, and that it was 1 block north of Fifth and Lake, so it's still within the proximity. And we've been there 2.5 years, just using space at First Congregational Church. And the dance school alone has over 350 children.
So is that a kind of an open-ended commitment until you can find any place else
Yes,
that works?
and we're having difficulty finding a place. We're dedicated to having our center in Maywood. Our whole goal was, let's build something great in Maywood, so people have to say, you know, I gotta go to Maywood to take my dancing lesson, because it's a positive.
And Maywood has a lot of negatives.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Too many.
Too
many
many.
negatives,
Yeah.
yes. And our dream is still the same. I've got to go to Maywood. I got to bring my kids to Maywood. Hold on here. I can't do what I'm doing out in Bolingbrook. I've got to head to Maywood. I mean, that's what we want for the
Now,
town.
one thing I have to comment on, you know, you've mentioned that you've been doing this for 45 years. And sitting here and talking with both of you, it looks like you've got another 45 years in
Oh,
you.
yeah.
And you've got plans for the next 45 years, right?
So
do
our
you-
retirement is pretty much this way. Like, there is no.
So
we're
do you
not-
see yourself like just continuing with this like as long as you can do it? Is that
Well,
the plan?
actually, and that's one of the things that people who are interested in funding you will ask is, well, what's your sustainability here? You know, you've done it for 45 years. Do you have it? We have taken all the steps, the necessary steps, to see to it that the head of each department, they're young people.
Okay.
And we're just kind of here overseeing it, you know, maybe perhaps like the folks that won't leave the room.
Yeah, I think people are maybe just tolerating
We're
us.
pretty
I don't know.
positive.
It's you know, they always say that I disrupt the class.
Yes,
So-
yes, they do say that.
I
So-
thought I was.
So in the
Adding
tumbling
something.
in the tumbling school, we have 2 head coaches, and in the dance school, actually is my oldest daughter, and I am so proud to say that the other head dance teacher was raised in our school, was raised in Stairway of the Stars, and went to Columbia College in Chicago and got her degree in dance. And her dream and her goal of her life was to come back and become one of our teachers. She's a
flattering.
wonderful
Yeah,
teacher.
just what a
Well,
comment on what you
we're
offer.
just so.
right?
Amazing. It really is amazing. And to this day, and she's an excellent teacher.
And now you have quite a number of if not world-famous alumni, certainly alumni who have made good careers for themselves
Oh,
in the
yes.
professional arts world.
Yes,
Yeah, actually, probably as famous as you can get
In the ballet world.
the-
Well, and our one student is Craig Hall, and he's a soloist for New York City Ballet.
That's about as good as it
It
gets.
I don't know what else you can
It
do.
doesn't
Yeah,
get, I
yeah.
mean, you know, that's a thrill. He started with us when he was 4. There's 6 children in that family, and we brought them all through. The whole family took classes from us, and they're still, 4 of the 6 are still in the music field.
Still in-
But Craig is quite famous, and we have Devin Pullens. He's a jazz choreographer, hip hop, and he teaches 6 months out of the year in Russia. And
Well, in fact, one of your own daughters danced with the Rockettes. and
yes,
has,
Purdy was a Rockette for 8 years, and she's still a dancer in New York. She just did a funny thing happen on the way to the Forum, and she toured for a year with Young Frankenstein. And
would've been a good
Chris Jackson, I'm very proud to say that when he was 23, he became first company of Alvin Ailey. And Thomasina Gross, now this was really funny. When she was little, she was very talented, and she would say to me, when I grow up, I'm going to be a pediatrician, I'm going to make money, and I'm going to support you, Mrs. Baumann. But she chose to go to California.
She became an actress.
She became an
Become an
actress.
Nothing. No, where's
And
the...
she just came through Chicago in touring with Mamma Mia. I have Andrew Arrington touring with Lion King, and he's now
Yeah, these are all big shows. This is the real.
Really?
This is
Yeah,
the
no,
big
these are
time.
pretty
Yeah.
big shows. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is-
yeah. You have to be a real
people
pro to
making
do
a
this.
living in the
and they
in the
all
field.
came
Right.
through our school. I mean, I know that Chris Jackson came. He didn't come until he was in 6th grade, but we call him the boy who never went home. And what you do, what we need to do is we're there, and we have dance. We're opening doors. We're there, and you can take your music lessons, and we'll help you get through your music career.
And do you ever wonder how many of these folks who have come through and made careers for themselves in the arts would have thought about this if Maywood Fine Arts had not been there?
Absolutely, they wouldn't
No,
have
I
had.
think
They would not have the chance.
I don't see how it could have almost happened.
It's also about encouragement. We've had thousands of kids come through our schools, and they stop us on a daily basis on the street, and they have nothing but nice things to say. And
So the benefits are not always, they're not just limited to the people who can go on and make a professional career of this, right?
Oh, absolutely
Which most
not.
of the students don't. There's some who do, but most of them come away with what? Something else.
well, this is a love of family. And I'll be walking down the street, and somebody will say, "Mom, Mom," and they go,
So, who's not your child, right?
No.
Right.
yes, and we that is one of our goals, and we talk about this often in our Monday morning meetings. Is this is a family operation, and the families who bring their children to us are our main concern. It's how our relationship with them and building relationships with our families and with their children. So that I think that's our sustainability. That's our history, really.
So then what do the children take back to the family then? How does that two-way operation work?
I don't understand that question.
What do?
Well, you
let's
work
see.
with the family, right? And you're imparting something to them. What do they bring back to you?
The family. They're just become part of the whole. I have watched amazing.
Become appreciative, but that would be
And join in and
right,
become teachers and supporters.
I've seen them. I have seen families become best friend families through our school, and all they did was sit in our waiting room with other families. We have a tumbling competition team, and that creates families meeting families.
On that note, which I think is a great one, we're already out of time.
No.
Yes. So you'll just
I
have
didn't
to
even
come.
drink water yet or anything like that. Oh, I'm here.
You'll just
Excuse
have to
me.
come back again and
We must have
chat
just
some
talked your ear off.
more. Well, we're out of time, so I have to say goodnight.
Thank you.
Lois, Ernie, thank you so much for being here.
Come to Maywood.
Yes, to everyone, right.
To everyone, come to Maywood.
And thank you for joining us once again on Public Perspective. I'm your host, Kevin McDermott. You can find us every Saturday night on Comcast Channel 19 at 8 p.m. And you can also find us on the web at publicperspective.tv. Till next time, thank you and good night.